So getting your message out there, it's tough, right? Where do you even begin? There's just so much noise. How do you stand out?
Well, that's where I think this media toolkit we're looking at comes in,
Yep.
chapter 2 of this book.
Hmm.
It really lays out a blueprint for crafting your own media toolkit. And it really can be kind of a secret weapon.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
A secret weapon, okay? And this chapter, it seems to cover everything.
Yeah.
From crafting a one-liner, that explains what you do, to even the kind of images the media actually wants to see.
Yeah.
I always thought the press release was like the most important thing.
Yeah, that's what most people think. But actually, no. What I find fascinating is how much of this toolkit is really about understanding your audience.
Okay.
Whether it's a journalist or a potential partner or even just someone you meet at like an event, it's about connecting with them.
That makes sense. So, okay, let's dive in. How do we start building this toolkit? What's step one?
So it all starts with that one-liner, like your elevator pitch.
Mm.
But like on steroids, it has to be super clear, concise, and instantly intriguing.
Okay, so like that example from the book about Poopy Cat.
Yes.
They describe themselves as fun, disposable litter trays that are better for you, better for the cat, and better for the environment. Like, that's catchy.
I know, right? It's short. It tells you exactly what they do.
Yep.
And it even kind of hints at that value proposition, like better for everyone involved.
Right.
That's the key.
Mm.
Hitting on that, so what?
Yeah.
Why should someone care?
Okay, I like that. So what?
Yeah.
Okay. And the book also had that great example for the Karma app. With the Karma app, you can find delicious unsold food from restaurants and enjoy it at half the regular price.
Yes.
Again, solves a problem, highlights the benefit, makes me want to know more.
Yeah, for sure.
But then they also had some examples of like what not to do.
Oh,
You remember that one?
Yeah.
Like ZZ is a collective of creative talent specializing in disruption. I mean, what does that even mean?
It's so vague, right? It's a classic mistake. Yeah. Trying to sound all fancy, but ending up just vague. It's like they forgot who they were talking to.
Yeah.
The book had a good tip, though. Imagine, like, you're explaining your business to a 5-year-old.
Oh, okay.
If they wouldn't get it, you're doing it wrong.
That's a good point. Okay, so we've nailed down that one-liner.
Yes.
What's next?
All right, next up is the boilerplate.
Okay.
It's kind of like the About Us section, but like way more powerful. It's basically a 1-paragraph story of your business.
So it's more than just like listing facts and figures.
Way more. It should tell a story, capture the essence of what you do, and highlight what makes you unique.
Okay.
Answer that, so what?
Yeah.
Again, why should anyone care about your company?
Yeah.
It's where you really highlight your unique value proposition.
So what should it include?
The book recommends kind of hitting the essentials, what your business does, where you do it, your history, and then kind of weaving in the founder's purpose. Or any big successes you've had can make it even stronger.
I love that. Okay, I'm ready to move on to something I always struggle with. Visuals.
Yeah.
They say a picture's worth 1,000 words.
And in the media world, that's especially true. We're not just talking about a professional headshot here.
Okay.
Although those are important. Think product photos, lifestyle shots, anything that can really capture like the feeling of your brand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The book had this great tip about shooting products on like a plain white background.
Yes.
They called it a ghost cutout.
Yeah.
So that media outlets can just easily use the image without a ton of editing.
It's a good tip. Smart.
It is. It is. And, that brings up a good question for you. Like, what kind of visuals would best represent your work to the world? What tells your story?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Okay, so I'll have to think about that. But for now, let's move on to another area I often find tricky. Writing a bio. That doesn't put people to sleep.
Yeah, I know. I've seen some that are just like, oh, laundry list of accomplishments. Right. And it's like, who wants to read that?
No one.
No.
This book actually has a refreshing take on bios.
Okay.
They stress that it should be engaging, personal, and really highlight your unique expertise. Give people a glimpse of who you are, what makes you tick.
Okay.
Like they gave an example of Una Sims, the founder of the Marshmallowist. Instead of just saying chocolatier, they say she trained in Paris.
Okay.
Whipped up thousands of croissants and profiteroles.
Oh, nice.
And that she's like a human sugar thermometer. Who can tell the temperature of boiling sugar just by looking at it?
Oh, wow. See, now that's a bio I want to read.
Exactly.
It makes her sound like a real person, and it makes me curious to learn more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the goal.
So, okay, we've got the one-liner, the boilerplate, the visuals, the bio. I'm feeling good. What's next in our media toolkit arsenal?
All right, well, so we've got those kind of foundational pieces of the media toolkit.
Yeah.
But how do we actually get our message out there?
Right, right.
What about guest posts and thought leadership? Oh, yeah. That always felt kind of intimidating to me, to be honest.
Me too.
Yeah.
But this book made a really compelling argument for why it's so crucial.
Okay.
They say it's like a fantastic way to position yourself as an expert in your industry,
Hmm.
build credibility, even generate leads.
Okay.
It's not just about promoting your business directly.
Right.
It's about, sharing your knowledge and your insights and your unique perspective on, industry trends,
Yeah.
providing, valuable content for your target audience.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. They had the great example of Davini Tomlinson, founder of RangeQ.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't rely solely on press releases to, like, launch her fintech company. Instead, she wrote all these thought leadership pieces that really sparked conversations, got people thinking.
Yeah, that's a great point. And she didn't shy away from, tackling tough topics either. She wrote about the lack of women in finance, the challenges that women face when it comes to investing, issues that really resonated with her target audience.
So it's about being brave and putting your ideas out there and engaging in a meaningful way.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see the power of this thought leadership.
Yeah.
What about features though? How does that fit into the media toolkit?
Features are all about being part of a bigger story.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it like this. Journalists are always looking for experts, to quote,
Yeah.
for insights and perspectives on current trends.
Right.
That's where you come in.
Okay, so we need to become like trend spotters.
Exactly.
Okay.
The book suggests, exploring trends related to your business, your customers, or even your personal journey.
Okay.
And keep an eye on those forward feature lists in trade magazines.
Oh, what do you?
They'll give you a heads up on what's coming down the pipeline.
You know, it's funny. I used to think those trend pieces were just fluff, but now I'm seeing how they can be like a gold mine of opportunities.
Oh, for sure.
Like that example the book gave of cleanfluencers.
Oh, yeah.
Those folks who are all about decluttering and organizing.
Right.
Yeah.
That whole Marie Kondo-inspired movement created so many opportunities for businesses related to home organization, minimalist living, sustainability. If you were paying attention to that trend, you could have positioned yourself as an expert and gotten some amazing coverage.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm sold on features.
Good.
But we can't wrap up this media toolkit deep dive without talking about the elephant in the room, the press release.
The press release. The holy grail of media outreach, some might say. But this book had a slightly different take.
Oh, really?
A little bit more realistic.
Okay.
They actually called press releases lazy and sloppy if not done right.
Well, no.
Which is a bit harsh,
Yeah.
but I kind of get their point.
Yeah.
The truth is, a press release shouldn't be your only strategy. It's one tool amongst many, and it needs to be used strategically.
So how should we be thinking about the press release then?
Think of it as a way to provide journalists with background information and a clear news hook.
Okay.
It's the foundation, but you need to build a compelling story on top of it.
They had that great quote from freelance journalist Sarah Drum, who said, "A press release is always helpful, but a bespoke pitch that sums up the story succinctly is best."
So it's not just about sending out a generic announcement.
Right.
It's about tailoring your approach for each specific media outlet.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say we've got some news that actually warrants a press release. What are the key elements? What makes a good one?
First and foremost, you need a killer headline. It should be attention-grabbing, maybe even a bit cheeky, but above all, crystal clear about what the news is.
Like those headlines you see in magazines that just make you stop and want to read more.
Exactly.
Yeah. The book even suggested using a headline analyzer tool to test it out.
Oh, right.
See how readable and engaging it really is.
Love that tip. Okay, so we've got a headline that grabs attention. What comes next?
Your intro paragraph needs to answer the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why.
Ah, yes. Journalism 101.
Exactly. Get all the essential information up front so the reader immediately understands what the story's about.
Okay, and then what? Just kind of flesh out the story with more details.
Exactly. You'll use the following paragraphs to provide supporting details. But remember to keep it factual, unbiased, and jargon-free.
Oh, that reminds me of another great tip from the book. Write as if you're explaining it to someone who knows nothing about your industry.
Yes.
No jargon allowed.
And another thing, make sure to include a quote from like the CEO or founder.
Okay.
This is a chance to, inject some personality and give more context to the story. But remember, no, like, I'm delighted or we can't wait for quotes.
Agreed. Those are so overused. Okay, so we've got the headline, the intro, the supporting paragraphs, a killer quote. What else is essential?
Don't forget your contact information at the bottom.
Oh, right. Of course, of course.
Name, email address, phone number. The book said journalists really appreciate having that phone number readily available so they can connect with you quickly if needed.
Oh, makes sense. What about those editor's notes? What are those all about?
That's a great place to put any extra information that's relevant but might not fit into the main body of the press release. Key prices, dates, event information, or even just like fun little factoids that add color to the story.
Okay. So we've got our headline, our intro, supporting paragraphs, a quote, contact info, editor's notes, and then, of course, at the very bottom, our trusty boilerplate.
Right, that one paragraph summary we talked about earlier, it all ties together.
This is great. I feel like I'm actually starting to understand how to write a decent press release, but I'm so curious, like, when should we actually use them?
Yeah,
What kind of news actually warrants a press release?
that's a great question. It's tempting to think that every little update or announcement is press release worthy, but it's not.
Right.
You need to think about newsworthiness.
So don't send out a press release for every, minor update.
Exactly. Save it for like significant announcements,
Yeah.
breaking news, event launches, new partnerships, product launches, major research findings.
Oh, and awards.
Oh, yes.
Those are always good press release material, right?
Absolutely. Awards are great for building credibility and social proof, so definitely spread the word about those.
Okay, I'm taking notes. So let's recap some key takeaways for creating a press release that actually gets read.
All right, number one, keep it concise and to the point. Get to the news quickly, use clear language, avoid jargon.
Okay.
Number two, grab attention with a compelling headline, a strong opening paragraph, and a memorable quote.
Okay.
Number three, make sure it's newsworthy.
Mhm.
Don't send out press releases for like minor updates or announcements that aren't relevant to a wider audience.
Yeah.
And last but not least, tailor your press release to each specific media outlet that you're targeting.
Okay.
Do your research, understand their audience, and make it clear why this news is relevant to them.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. You've got your one-liner, your boilerplate, your visuals, your bio,
Yeah.
and now you even know how to craft a compelling press release.
You're a pro.
I'm feeling more confident about my media toolkit already.
Good.
But I have a feeling there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to talk about.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
So we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
One-liners, boilerplates, visuals, bios, even the sometimes dreaded press release. I've started to see how all these pieces fit together to create this powerful media toolkit.
Yeah, what's fascinating to me is how they all work together to tell like a cohesive story. It's
Yeah.
not just about having a bunch of, separate documents. It's about creating like a complete and consistent representation of who you are and what you do.
Yes. It's like building a house,
Yeah.
We've laid the foundation. We've framed the walls. But we still need to make it functional, inviting.
Exactly. And that brings us to kind of the final piece of our media toolkit puzzle.
Okay.
Organization.
Right.
Making sure that all these materials are, easy to find and access when you need them.
Yes. The admin side of things.
No, right?
Not always the most glamorous, but definitely crucial.
Oh, it is.
It's like having a well-stocked toolbox,
Yeah.
but with all your tools neatly organized so you can just grab what you need in a flash.
I like that analogy, whether you prefer, Dropbox, Google Drive, or even just like a good old-fashioned folder on your computer.
Yeah.
Having a dedicated media toolkit space is essential.
And keeping it updated, right?
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I've scrambled to find an updated bio
Yeah.
or high-resolution headshot when an opportunity pops up.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of opportunities, this is an important point. Having a great media toolkit isn't about, passively waiting for the press to come knocking. You need to be proactive.
Okay, so get out there and network.
Exactly. Attend events, build relationships with journalists and influencers in your industry. And when you do, you'll be armed with that, killer one-liner to make a memorable first impression.
I love that. So what does this all mean? Why should someone take the time to create a media toolkit? It's about more than just getting press coverage, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's about being prepared to seize opportunities and present yourself in the best possible light.
It's about building your credibility, connecting with your audience, and ultimately controlling your narrative.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for our listeners.
Okay, I'm listening.
What makes you unique and newsworthy? What story are you waiting to tell the world? Because now you have the tools to share it.